Okay. So, since that's interesting news. Again, it's this like every week, every other week they keep shutting down. What it was first every other 3 months, Starlink and such. Sorry, that's not what I'm screen recording for. I've been doing some very basic searches on languages, and the section about tongues, knowing that there are languages, a brief breakdown on what traditions and cultures actually are, being that we're redeemed from all nations, tribes, tongues, and peoples across the face of the earth. The brief breakdown being, okay, if you want to call anything a traditional culture, in a prime example of people being landlocked, which means not having oceans around their, well, their designated or describable demographic physically. Like Zimbabwe, we don't have oceans, but we do have rivers and a few lakes and things like that. But oceans, shipping, sailing in the distance make a difference in terms of the activity, the kind of things used. Yes, boats are used, but there are specific kinds of boats used for actual ocean lining, which would not fit in a lake or a river. So that is a basic example. You can think of fishing, the kinds of fishing, going into whaling, which whales don't live in lakes and rivers. You do have fishing and such. So right now I was just looking at some translations and finding something very significant. So where I'm going to start, and it was about the honor. The word honor. My name's Kudzai, Simbarashi David Murap, of course, TeQ NiQ, your boy in the building, saying your boy, well, Christ's boy of most first, but you know, that's humorous and very awesome. So honor in Chinese, or if you know that the language is generally called Mandarin. There's Cantonese as well, but Chinese is more specific to a nation of the language and its few dialects compared to Cantonese, and more so calling it Mandarin, which even spans to Korea, South Korea, Taiwan, and such, but now needs to be understood. So the word honor in Chinese is Rongyu, and this should play back. I hope that it will.
荣誉
Yongyi. Okay, the Yong now because of the O, and I would have to temporarily draw and also zoom in because of the O here. Showing you that the symbol like this on top of the O is what literally makes it a silent R. Why it goes from the R to the O. So the pronunciation is, oof, I've still got the pencil on, sorry.
荣誉
Hyunghyu, almost there, from the G and the N into the Y and the U rolling over into that direction with the little, and I'll just use the word comma, becomes
荣誉
Hyunghyu, which is
honor
from English. I'm not going to do like every single detail as further than what I do understand, and this is literally only searching from about 12 a.m. and mind you, I mentioned in the TeQ NiQ live story and a few posts in the other videos how it had been so evident that it's too familiar. Even doing this today, waking up and having done so, in fact having well rested of course, but wanting to rest more, but at least having just gone through a few searches, the word honor and the way it's depicted here,
honor
in English, is now described by at the top here, what I just covered there, by those accentuations, the A starting with an apostrophe but having the two dots and the E upside down, come from literal derivative understanding of, let's say, Arabic via Latin, and literally Latin is a very, very important language that sometimes people don't describe properly, but I'll just let you know that even in each language are other languages and so forth, but that was a very significant one. So since we're starting, and my point actually being in the actual symbols that are in the Chinese language, what I was looking for, and I looked for it again, this portion of the second symbol in the Chinese word honor is similar to the ones in the first symbol as well, but you know, I'm not Chinese myself, I've never learned Chinese. This is just a basic observation, literally made in a specific way. I scrolled down and I looked a bit, there's the translations of it. There's the glory, honor, honor, and then there's just the regular honor, then there's glory, honor. In terms of how you use a language, it depends what kind of descript it'll have. Here we find it again in the significance of what I'm trying to describe. I'm just putting the markings there so you can see what I mean for observation's sake. But the bottom is a lot more different than the actual one that I'm speaking about. I think I just moved forward by accident while I was searching there, so I have to start again. Honor in Chinese, right? So from the wrong one and this bottom half as well, right here. If you are familiar with when LED screens, such as those we have on cell phones, were first globalized in terms of the Game Boy Advanced, these are just, or even you start back at the calculator, just for numbers, people would use those for basic calculating, and as we got into high school, that was necessary for children to have. The literal 2 lines and then the box underneath, excuse the drawing that I'm doing there, but just so you can exactly see what I'm getting at. And where I found the very understandable, that's a horrible drawing, literally doing this version of the screen recording it for the first time. So the line, and then this part here. This is very significant in terms of the word hey in Aramaic and kind of Arabic. It depends which Arabic derivative, but when you have the word Yahusha, Yahuwah, and Yeshua specifically, the hey part from Yeshua, right? The top of the back one of the original or traditional Chinese has this, and also this is the hey symbol with the 3 forks for the combage, then kind of like a 5-ish, that's horrible, in the middle. That's more of the traditional version of the Chinese word honor. So if you go honor in traditional Chinese, these are basic observations I made, and I'm not like bragging. I don't speak Chinese myself. I haven't yet fully learned it. I'm just making the observation as of that's a few hours, but as you can see exactly what I pointed out right there. And they're descriptive, like literally, by the little building structure you can find here. The part that's like that, and like a little comma there, and it looks kind of like a roofing. Then you have it on top. That's very, very, very important to note of how you would learn to speak Chinese, and through the actual person who would have been instructed to teach you from having spoken Chinese will explain to you the relativity of that, also with portions that will come over here as well, why written like that, this now being more complicated, and the relationship between this and maybe North Korean will be quite significant, and that also being similar in a descript. I just don't have the actual words of it, and obviously that too. But the point is that it was quite awesome to find out that honor in Japanese has literally the same structure that is in the Chinese. There was a screen typo, just trying to disable that so
Mayo.
you can hear it. It is literally mayo, so that's quite significant in how it is all exactly the same as the honor in Chinese. So, well, it's Mandarin, like I'd explained, but if you look at the fact that the difference in reading, some people were wondering why Chinese people read that way and Japanese people read that way, which in some places, English is read that way. Some people may read that way, and I hadn't immediately remembered those who read right to left, and I think, it's Arabic, give a derivative of specific, and it just might be kind of Islamic derived, but I'm not going in that direction of making that sort of difference. I'm just being very basic in what I am getting across. So honor in Japanese again. Japanese is quite interesting because when it's more dictionary wise, and you'd probably say like the spoken part of it is less pictorially described. This is more pictorially described. This is, I guess, well, you would almost say less described like that, and that being very much different. It'll depend, like, again, the people, the demographic, the actual, well, they call them dialects, but dialects often are interlinking and interused. This kanji means honor. A kanji is now a word, depending on how described it is and artistically. It's a lot of information and very much to note. So that's a brush character version. There's another one which has a different one as well. So my point here was quite found in so many just basic searches. Everybody loves learning, and we know that learning doesn't stop. That is actually coming to the fullness of the knowledge of truth. Some people have this tendency, and it's a very bad thing to even think of our culture or anything. It's a very evil thing that people find others learning. They interrupt the learning. They steal what the person's learning if they haven't learned it yet in order to go teach it to other people so that they don't learn and they end up keeping on stealing. You see, this is one of those weird things that some people don't have the exact describe of, but these are the kind of people that hate transparency. They hate direct communication. They hate always being truthful and open. And at the end of the day, if you do want to defeat that sort of thing, just remain transparent, remain in spirit and truth, and always be willing to communicate, which are principles in Christ Jesus. And that's obviously where I'm coming from with everything that I'm looking at here. So this one now is a bit controversial for some people. And I was checking out the search suggestions, and I was interested in why it said like tattoo in Japanese. Like literally, you can see it at the bottom there. So I was like, is tattoo also a language? It obviously is a word that has a meaning and name, and I had to look at it and at least find the basics of understanding it. Now the problem is with people not understanding that this is not a good thing. In terms of engraving of the skin, engraving is different from, let's say you have a pen or a pencil, someone's giving you directions and you don't have a piece of paper to write, and you actually write on your skin with a pen or a piece of paper instead of having a piece of paper. That's not a crime. That's absolutely awesome. In terms of like Indian skin painting, okay, this phone doesn't have the, oh yeah, I'm glad I disabled the AI thing, but it doesn't help now because it actually gives more detail. When you go into the different names of it, there's, I'm gonna have to find the word down here now. There's irezumi, okay, that's one, but these are really bad words because it means mutilation at a point in time. That's Philippians 3:2-3. Where are we? You won't find it that easily without the AI conglomerate. At least the top part came out here, but it's still not a full describe. From it depends which phone you have sometimes. Let me see if it'll come out. There we go. Okay. Yeah. I remember that one, but this is now description. There we go. That word specific relative to Shona, and Jimabori or Kubora in Shona is to make a hole in. That is not a good thing in terms of your skin. It is mutilation. In terms of to beautify, it's not even to draw or to mark, actually. That's what the word tattoo means in Japanese, as I saw the search result come out. So at this point, we're not just searching led me. I began to understand, okay, well, people's not being able to make a difference, and this shouldn't be far from people at all to understand Indian skin paint, right? This is really where understanding and lack of knowledge become things that people are abused by. There's no boraring involved. There's no mutilation involved. Like I said, the exact of it is literally like drawing on your hand with a piece of paint placementer. I'm just using a ballpoint pen for a basic example because you're not harming yourself. You're not having the intent to. And spiritually speaking, people should know that even just the intent to harm yourself is already spiritually harmful manifest into the physical, where some people's emotional pain can actually come from, and having to describe it in the resultant is obviously demonic attacks. And it's one of those things the world's wisdom and knowledge does not account for knowing. I'm just looking for the name of Indian skin paint. I remember getting the name in another search. Indian skin paint name. If I put that at the beginning, it might be a little easier. Also, not knowing how to search on the internet sometimes was a difficult thing for people. Just knowing how to. Sepia. Exactly, sepia tint. It is usually known for the orangish one that we've just seen before, which is quite interesting about brown skinness. It's really awesome because some people don't understand they're also dark-skinned. Every single kind of peoples, even Asians, there's Malaysians who are very dark-skinned. It is really awesome that we are peoples of all kinds and colors. So where did I go next from here? Yeah, let's verify the this portion that I brought up about the two sides of the hay on top of the Chinese honor, right? This should make sense very, 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 very much. So if now we search for Yeshua, now I'm pressing buttons by accident. Yeshua in Hebrew. This is usually technically the most recent kind that people will recall when they do basic searches like this. But if let's just search it and go to the image that I'm looking for. It's a picture that I found a few months ago on the TeQ NiQ exposing life story. The picture that had somebody actually literally draw it with their finger on the back of the dust of the car. Like, it's really not cool. We're literally talking about hay right there. And if it doesn't come up in this, okay, Yeshua in Hebrew and Aramaic and Arabic. Knowing that Arabic and Arabian are also differentiations. If you've ever looked up the United Emirates, you would know that it has different regionings, and they also have names, and they also have meanings. I haven't really been there myself like that, and I have to say like that for sakes of it being a very long 38 years, being 38 years old myself right now. So those are other things. Will it come up? Will it come up? Was it there? I just want to make sure I didn't scroll past it. This is already it right here, technically. But my point being in what was shown between the name Allah and the name Yeshua and the name God, and people having those disputes and differentiations. If it doesn't come up in this search, it should come up in the next. Is that the last of them? Okay, that's the last of them. You're in Hebrew and Aramaic. It's very basic. Yeshua and Allah in Hebrew and Aramaic. Let's just stick to the Arabic version. Arabic version. Right. So here it's definitely not got to be far at all. And it's exactly what came up when I was looking for it. I'm pretty sure the first time I did this when I was younger, I kept quiet because it was my first time learning it, but it was not unrecognizable at all. that I can very much vouch for. I did save the picture and I posted it on the Facebook page when that happened, with the person actually doing that on the back of my car, which is not the best because you know where it's coming from. Phantom clicks. Literally need to go forward, search forward, and we're searching, yeah, okay, search forward. It's the most basic one. Yes, here as well. But I think that was a much better way of putting it because it showed you exactly how upside down some things are. Yeah, it's not far. And like I said, it always depends which kind of device you're using, which phone, and what your search history is like. This shouldn't really be far at all. And if it is for any of such kind of reasoning, well, God knows exactly what's going on, and that is not normal and not a good thing. Because I tried to do the screen recording on the other phone, but it's not really as format fit. More search results again? Really? Unless I have to now change the search, and then maybe it'll come up quicker. Alright. I think if we do this just might be the problem and the reasoning at a point in time. There we go again. A basic derivative of it. This being specific, this being specific, and this also being specific. And people sometimes make the problematic for themselves of not understanding. Like I've noticed in Zimbabwe, people speak Shona, and vanhu vanotongotaura Shona handiti ka maZimbabweans obviously vachazozvitaura izvi nekuzviteerera kuti kungoda kuziva umwe ndimi dzacho wofunga uzoti pane ndimi inonzwika manzwi dzacho, meaning and zvirevo zvacho, kuti pane yakashata. Hapana yakashata, asi kukomborera nekurumbidza nendimi zvakasiyana nemunhu anoita zvekutaurira zvakashata. But descriptive nekunzwisisa zvakasiyana in the fact that uchidescribe something hazvireve uzoti uri kutaura zvinhu zvacho. Iwewe munhu uchitaura zvinhu zvacho sendiri kutaura, matauriro andiri kutaura. Asi zvirevo nekudescribe zvinonzi kupatsanura nekuzobatanidza nzwiso dzacho nematauriro ari kuita kubva mumwoyo nepfungwa. Basically, people not differentiating between, let's say somebody curses at you, you don't have to curse back at them, you can say bless you. Then someone asks you, what did the person say? It got so superstitious for some people's times that they wouldn't even be able to describe what the person said. You could say, okay, the person cursed. Okay, what kind of curse did the person say? You just tell them what the person said. This is where people give symbology power over them where it doesn't have it. In terms of people thinking, seeing, and this is very descriptive as well. That's a triangle. That's another triangle. And that's awesome how it turns into the Israeli star, which is interesting how people get taught that there's sort of pyramid schemes and such like that, but not understand this in terms like for business and let's say hierarchies. They'll put a leadership role at the top and maybe demographic things and not consider a horizontal understanding of anything. But this now being as if it's a game changer and having a leadership role at the bottom and these being the higher authorities, which is now interesting how Jesus was made a little lower than the angels and why the actual horizontal structure would make sense. But now, let's say the actual 5-pointed star thing that people always get scared of seeing, something like that, basically. I mean, giving that power over you, like, will you, it's technically in the sense of, okay, let's say, oh, everything is okay if it's boxed. Then someone draws a circle because bad people are using circles for symbols. you'd be scared to draw a triangle with just rounded edges. And the fact of perfect rounded edges or perfect cornered edges is now another debate and issue. So anyway, that's a basic describe of something that has a lot to do with language and literally a lot to do with the very thing that I'm looking at here. And I'd like to roll through I had already downloaded the picture and such like that, but that's not where I'm going with this. I'd rather find it here. Let me keep searching and make sure I can find it. Yeshua in Arabic. It should come up like this. It should come up like this much quicker. It really, really should. Because it's sad, man. See more anyway. Okay. That is an awesome thing to note here, where we get the name Messiah from. Right there. That's very, very important to note. It makes a lot of sense. Yahuwah, Yah, and Yeshua. So, why Jesus never complicated things in a way. He simplificated them more than he complicated them. And people found the simplicity much harder to deal with than what they're already complicating in terms of, well, it's kind of politicizing, to be quite honest. Not coming up here either. The variations of it are, and it would be sad if somebody's in the background busy trying to use this as some stupid argument of evidence, but that's probably another story for another day. Alright, so let's just do that one. Allah in Aramaic. It's gonna come up in one of them. It's gonna come up in one of them. If it doesn't, then I'm gonna literally have to start over at the end of this. No, seriously, it's a lot of scrolling at this point in time. It's not funny. I'm gonna have to yeah, I'll do it at the end. So we're going right back to the Cantonese, and wow, the Cantonese spelling of honor. Spelling of honor. Is it also just I need to yeah, okay. So Chinese Cantonese is that's wrong, you. That's where we're at. And it was literally about yeah. Hey in Hebrew. There we go. That's at the bottom of it. Right at the bottom of the structure that we saw there. And then these three, and then the other one at the top. Oof. It should make sense for some people what they're actually missing out on understanding. When I was bringing up Zimbabweans, and this is just usually some colorless issue, but it depends on the people and why they behave that way. Not wanting to hear languages from outside of their country. I remember experiencing that in 6th grade when I came back to Zimbabwe, speaking to people who were learning in English, but just wouldn't want to speak it. Getting straight A's, but not wanting to speak it. Which is not cool. It's really not. I was also concerned about how some people thought, I don't know, like I didn't understand Shona or didn't want to learn it. It was just a matter of exposure, to be quite honest. It had nothing to do with not wanting to. On the second part of that, it had more to do with people's misuse. Literally. Let's just take the area paper. Oh, yeah, no, you need that one. It came up just now as well, just for visual sake. People not wanting to see it. Right there. And then It's very, very basic drawing that you do this way. What we literally saw at the beginning with those two on it. That and that. What an interesting way to draw right there for the sake of what we're looking at. So we had to come all the way from honor in Japanese. And we're saying, okay, the relativity of dialectism in pictorial, and it only becomes pictorial, I guess, from English, where you're thinking it only pictorial. Right? That is
名誉
male. In English, that is
honor,
honor. So the translations of it have those seemingly a little slightly different from something, just in a small way, derivatives. This one by the initial, first one, the second one here, and the second one here, familiar and the same. The one at the bottom here, both are altered. It depends on the use now and the kind of meaning. Then we get down here and we can see there is a consistency on the part of the first one that is like this. And the part at the top here, which kind of looks like dumbbells like this, and then comma there and a comma at the bottom, has a seemingly very, very significant carryover. There's face and honoring, and then there's honor dignity, and then there's honor with ceremonial honor, there's awarding honor, there's honesty honor and descriptive of someone's activity or being or character or their distinct personality, duty of honor. And there was that thing where people would argue, can honoring be a duty, or is it actually something that distinguishes somebody in their character and such? But there's prize, award and such. So it's a general observation. Like I said there, I have not learned entirely the full Japanese language or the full Chinese language. Honor in traditional Chinese. I really hope this finger of mine didn't keep covering the microphone hole like that. But it happened once upon a time as well, so making sure that things are fully understood, the inclusive of that very symbol right there. Should make sense to exactly what pointed out. Also with the other portion of hey being that one. Not losing anything at all out of value and context, but that should make sense for people's learning of what a language is, what a tongue is. Yep. Like I said, most commonly for digital typing, and at least you can see from just scripts like that. The last part I'm going to leave this on is basic in terms of people understanding that you can learn English in terms of the lettering, A, B, C, D, all the way to Z, that's 24 letters, right? Now, your handwriting of an A, you could choose to write like that, or maybe you're taught to write in cursive, which requires you to write the next letter or the B afterwards like that, and totally leaves a difference in personal and individual handwriting. Some people even being taught to write, let's say, an A, could have used to been like that. It's been a long time. 24 years is a long time. Sometimes with the front of the A being that way. Sometimes people were taught with the beginning of the A being that way. So all of what we're seeing should make sense to people. It shouldn't be confusing. It shouldn't seem as if ununderstandable or nonsensical, but that is very, very significant. That is very, very significant. Also, the other two as well. So it was just a basic screen recording session that I thought, put it in context a little bit, so some people don't get superstitious and paranoid and think, whoa, what's going on here? Why is this and that? And well, some things are obvious. Other people end up feeling as if they're scared. But honestly, it's just scared to learn, or thinking if they learn, they're going to be thought dumb of not continuing the learning in one area of life in terms of, let's say, like I explained, the Shona and not wanting to speak English. You are already learning Chinese in Shona. You're already learning Zulu in Shona. You're already learning Igbo in Shona. You're already learning Cantonese and I almost said Mandarinese. Mandarin derivatives in Shona as well. In fact, interesting things about Shona that I found, and I know a lot of people saw this already. So go in Japanese. Oh, it's in Evolute too, okay. Okay. Refer to things, people, or places close to the listener. If the speaker and the listener are close together, these words refer to things, people, or places a little distance from both of them. That's a basic descriptive, the basic and foundation of what that means. Now it's quite interesting. It technically means story. It's also used for literally describing the monkey, but some people always had stories to tell about what they did and such, and there's a problem with people's in English. That is literally, you'd technically be straight line addressing it as idolatry, but at this point in time, you don't likewise animals like their people. One wese wakasikwa mufananidzo ya Mwari muna Jesu Kristu. We would say kuvambirwa na Jesu Kristu, which means authored by kuvamba. Muvambi is author in Shona. So animals are not made in God's image. He did let the earth teem with all its living things, both the earth, the waters, and the sky as well, and third, being part of the waters, the sky of it, because the earth came first after the sky and waters were filled with living things. Then people were made in God's image, which should be very, very significant of why Jesus is that important in our lives. So I think I can end the screen recording there. It should be fine. Well, what was interesting here, another one of the searches. Antelopes have a very significant, so you know what you're looking at when I do the next search. Alright, antelope is in English, antelope in Afrikaans. Well, there's bok, and then there's the word duiker is like a kind of antelope. Sable is a different specific kind of antelope. I guess there's various things to consider. And it's the AI that I had searched on. It was weird. I didn't search on the AI, sorry. I don't use AIs. In fact, I was trying to disable it and I failed to find the disable function. It couldn't find antelope in Shona or something like that, basically, which was actually quite interesting because it told him muka in Shona. And people think that it's also easy to use AI for anything. No, it's just not a human. It's not a person. Doesn't have understanding or discernment. I literally just looked up antelope in Shona, cross-referenced through the English word. Muka is the translation of antelope into Shona, and that was that. It was not going to find it at all. It was not. Muka is also general for animal. But honestly, you'd need to now have some referencings and databasings, and it depends what the people there's. Okay, that depends on which people were calling it that. Here we go. me see. I think the last time I did this, I stopped at muka. But that's the thing. There's a problem with that because of the kind of animal it was and people using it for certain things. But that's different from understanding in Christ and the fullness of actual understanding of that portion of things. So yeah, that brings us to the end of where we started with this. Literally at honor in Chinese. And the whole point of it was descriptive towards, see, once you put that on, you can't like take the drawing off. You have to take the draw off, and then you can't see that part of me doing that. The actual pen and pen function. That was the whole point of doing this. Some people might not have found it that professionally done, but it's very good to know that the meaning and such are what give anything everything. Right there, in the glory one, right there as well. There we go. And which was the observation from right here. That was the entire point of making the video. That's significant because of peacemaking, and this is a historical observation by the Holy Spirit, and I do remember giving this one at the same time. Literally in the context of the upside down. Like, I'll put it at the end of the video so that part can be seen, which was necessary. I don't know if somebody thought it was going to get taken down or some people would be censorably searched and such like that, but it's quite interesting. So, peace, y'all. Let me just put that picture at the end of it and just describe exactly what I mean by the peacemaking right there. Literally. It's quite significant. It actually is. And also, right here, we're speaking of hey from understanding that in this direction. So what I was looking for all that time while I was scrolling and talking literally is this. Top Allah, bottom Allah upside down. Top Yahweh, bottom Yahweh upside down. Now these are two different dialects technically, but two different languages. That's the interesting thing. It kind of confuses some people, and the interesting part is when you do see what we were looking at there. It like I said, for myself and understanding that much as a general observation, those being hey, this wow also sometimes understood as yao. If you do them in singular, technically, and this is ham. This is actually ham as well. If you've ever had a physical Bible, like let's say one that does have the symbols for each family in the book of Revelation is described as 12, but it depends like what you're talking about, specific people. You'll find this one over the certain psalms that were from Ham. So Yah can be hey, but depending, like here it's in sentencing, how it comes out as Yahuwah or Yeshua. You see, so tetragrammaton is a language of understanding that is, you don't want to say very generic. Technically, we're talking about block lettering for English, which is literally like an A block lettered. It's different from A cursive and capital. It's hard for me to describe, but which would be like that. And if you're going on to B, then C, then D, then E, depending on which way you're taught to write with it. So that also has an element in the actual Hebrew writing. The actual Hebrew writing is here. This is now translated in English, and this is the tetragrammaton. Then the Arabic would be differently relative to the why these are upside down, and one is, well, how it comes out relatively. It's not supposed to sound jokish, but you would think of a Hebrew person writing to an Arabic person, or an Arabic person writing to a Hebrew person. And the literal part that comes out like that would be either that way or that way. So over here, it's not hidden really at all, but it depends which way you're listening and thinking of understanding. Either that way, or that way, or that way. In basic, so one would understand, right? And also meaning the same here, either that way, or this way, or this way. Just like the top one as well, it's not a political issue, but yeah, we've already covered that. So that is where I'm going to end the screen recording issue for the moment. Speaking about tribes, tongues, and cultures, I'd already explained the difference between a culture and a tradition. Technically, a tradition is more national, intercommunal, multi-communally national, and such like that. Is very interesting how many it describes and how much history we have. When people didn't have access to recording equipment in terms of audio or visual, and it was introduced, there would be spawning literal cultures. Well, that's Tav, by the way. It's awesome. And then Reish is like the top of the expo that we've been doing. There's Shade. And where's Ham? Is Ham there? Yep, there's Hay. Here it's written as Hay. But in the Bible that I had, it was little blue Gideons that had the tribe of Ham and described like that. Literally so. That is some understanding, and that is very important for people to have, because God's people are consumed because of lack of knowledge, which if people are disallowed, like I said, that culture that some people have of stealing informations while someone's learning and preventing their initial idea is to want to prevent the person from learning, because they want to learn it first before the person is learning it themselves, and they actually don't want to learn. They want to actually just keep on promoting the thought and actual probate of stealing, which is never. It's a very reprobate thing. In fact, the excusability of it is none at all. People are always willing to share, but having to feel like you have to be protective over learning is very, very degrading for a human being. Because like I said, such people only defeat with transparency and communication and openness. They also don't want people to be open or communicate. They like doing things in secret. They like doing things in darkness. The sad part is not waiting for someone to get done with something. You would almost describe it as when your mom's cooking food and then they don't even wait until the chicken's fully fried. They want to pick it from the pan and then not even pick it, like the whole pieces, like one by one, and then be like, hey, where'd the chicken go? I wasn't done cooking. I had the spice I wanted to add at the end, which is an interesting story some people have of how they've dealt with such kind of peoples. Because that's what they wanted. They wanted the spices. Does it have it yet? No, it doesn't yet. Go get another piece. Does it have it yet? No, it doesn't. And it was probably garlic or something. So anyway, I'm going to catch y'all later. I honestly had to go through that one at this point in time. Yeah. Let's just make sure that people do understand that these are very important things. And the time frame we're in right now is also significant. Why I said it's too significant of a recollection. I hope the screen recordings are not too long, but anyway, I'm going to have to trunctuate it data size wise